Here we go. All right, cool. Here we go. All right, cool. What's up, everybody? Who's everybody? Me? What's up, me? All right, author workday. Number 4, working on island home defense. Yeah, I think that the name is going to be My Island Homestead. My Island Book 1 Homestead. My Island Book 1 Homestead. So I think we will do this. Happy Monday. Who am I? I am Gabriel Rathway. Amazing, best-selling author. And this is my stream. I am a writer who streams, not a streamer who writes. Oh, this stream, this song is loud. Thank you, Normandy Beach Party, for the music. It's great. I always enjoy your lo-fi hip-hop mixes. Okay. So, today, it is 8:36 in the morning. We're going to knock this stream out. Working on a book, My Island. Book 1 of 3. Book 1's going to be Homestead. Homestead Depot. How about Homestead Depot? Homestead in Another World. We might have to do this somewhere. Maybe, yeah. It kind of comes through when you're working on the story. Like, you figure out maybe the title will be this and things kind of, because I'm a pantser. It's what's called a pantser. It's when somebody writes by the seat of your pants. I mean, you don't have an outline. You just kind of have a vague idea or, a pretty broad idea. And you just write as you go. You don't plan it out. That's what I do. So, we're going to do this today. It's the 12th. My goal is to get to 10,000 edited, rewritten words by the end of today. And for the next 9 more days. So I would like to be done with this book by the 22nd and have it rewritten and edited, submitted by the 30th, somewhere by the end of the month. So, yeah, I've been up since 4. I already started some speech to text, so I did that this morning. It's probably about 1,500, 2,000 words odd. That's the main manuscript, which is here. Right here, which is at, 23,974. So I'll add that. Okay, I want to watch this too. I'll probably put this on while I'm writing today. I'm going to probably put some different videos on while I'm rewriting and editing, because the goal today is 10,000 words. That'll take a few hours, whatever. Is what it is. All right, so moving on. First things first, pimping my books. Let's do Author Central. Let's do Kindle Select. Let's go to Amazon. Let's do Gmail. There it is. Boom. I needed the audio version from Chef to send to the publisher because they're putting the audiobook out. So what I'm going to do is forward this to Joseph Maddox. Here you go. You know what? He probably doesn't want his email on the internet. Probably shouldn't do that, right? So I'll put it over here where you can't see it. Go back here. Go to yesterday. That's sales for yesterday. You can look at that. Let me send this email. Here you go, Joseph. Sorry for the wait. Hope you had a good weekend. Thanks, Gabe. That's a me, a Gabe. And send. All right, cool. That's done. I should answer emails today too. There's an email I got. I got a really nice email from this really nice author. I believe she's Irish. I'll pull it up. But I'm going to send her an email back today. Let's see, where's that? All right, so that's sent there, dear, Lar. What is her name? Roisin O'Donnell. Yeah, I'm going to send her an email back today. And then I got a friend-ish person, a friend that, I guess I'm going to call him a friend. His name's Brian. He read my books for a while, and he loves food, and we always send emails back and forth. And I haven't emailed him back. He sent me an email back in August. So I need to do that. All right. Yes, I need to download. Oh, no, I need to send. Okay, hold on. All right. Now I'm just rambling. Just rambling now. All right. So I need to download the speech to text I did this morning, send that to my email, put that into speech to text program, which I will pull up now. Open input, and then open output. Pull those over. All right, so here is input. So what I'll do here is I'll upload the speech to text program I download here. Then that'll come out here. Oh, in a few minutes. And then I'll take that and I'll copy paste that into here, which is my manuscript. That'll bring the probably total word count up to about 27,000, which with edits and rewrites should be about 50,000+. So that means over the next 9 days of rewrites and edits, I also need to speech to text at least 25,000, 30,000 more words, which shouldn't be a problem. At all. Okay. So let's do some here. Me. Put my stuff in the chat. I have to do self-promotion, of course. I can't wait. April's coming. April 28th, 2026. Mercenary V Instructor Incarnated as a Chef comes out. That's my first series with a publisher, Tantor Audio. Then shout outs to Tantor. Shout outs to Stephen Rhett. You guys are the shiz. A Space Force chef who gets transported to medieval Japan, Tsushima Island, right before the no, that's from Chef. Mercenary Incarnated as a chef. Shit. Assassin killer dies, reborn in another world, where like he doesn't want to be a killer and like, but ends up having to be a killer. So it's more like an 80s homage to like Never Ending Story combined with like all the, it's like kind of a conglomeration of like 80s movies. Like if you take like Goonies, Never Ending Story, Wizards, Dark Crystal, Sword in the Stone, I mean, Labyrinth. If you take all those and you mush them together, those are like my childhood. That's like Mercenary Reincarnated as a Chef, and it's my homage to it. Like so I haven't really pimped this book yet, but there's a big giant wolf. It's also, so it's my 80s childhood movies and stuff, tropes and themes with the animes I read or saw as a younger person. So like there's a big white wolf that turns into a wolf girl, and then there's a tiny gorilla monkey that's like a nod to 80s or 90s video games, and then there's like a giant griffin. Like and then the main character is like an old assassin that becomes like a young, like teenaged hero. So it's just like it's a fun fairy tale romp. There's like tower climbing and food. It's really fun. I'm super excited about it. But yeah, it comes out in three months, man. 3.5 months. That's crazy. And it's at 208,000. This is no marketing, no pushing it. It's just people, like it's cool. This is my first Athon publishing thing. I'm excited about it. That's cool. Anyway, let me go back. Let me put my books in the chat. All right. So I always talk about clean links. It's the fastest, closest, shortest link to a book. And oh wait, that. Oh, there we go. Boom. All right. Now, let's see. Let's go order operations. Who am I? Gabriel Rathway, best-selling author. These are my books. First thing, that's who I am. Post my books in the chat. Then, writing tip. Today, I took a magic mind. I get up at 4. So I do all the stuff, and then I try to get out the door by 5:30, but I didn't get out the door till 6:30 this morning. And I get on the bike, and I bike like 3 miles, and then do some exercise, calisthenics, jump ropes, things like that, and then record speech to text for a little while, and then bike a couple miles back, and then get started with this part. And today I took a magic mind. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. It's like vitamin B's and caffeine and stuff. But then when I got back, I decided I want to try Ketone IQ. So I took Ketone IQ today, and I'm curious to see how that works. I probably should just take it without the other stuff, like the magic mind, but that was 4 hours ago, so I feel like that's long enough for it to wear off and for this to work. But I took it right before the stream, so now we're at 12 minutes. And I feel the same, but I don't know. We'll see. It's an experiment. It tastes like utter garbage. Like the original Ketone IQ tastes like, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But I hope it works. We'll see. Okay, so disclaimer out the way. Posted my book links. Okay, so the first book I did on the stream was back in July. That was Mercenary Reincarnated Chef Book 3. That'll be a third book in the series I just showed. The next book I did was From Chef to Crafter to Conqueror Book 6, which I wrote in 26 days, speech to text, rewrites, and everything, and then released that on October 15th for pre-order. Came out November 1st, so it's now been out for November to December, 2 months and 12 days. So 2.5 months, basically. In 2.5 months, we're still sitting at 30K in the store, rank 30,000, which it shifts up and down. It goes down to like 30, 40, 50,000, but ranks back up to like the 10s, 15, 16,000. So that's fine. It's doing quite well. We have 380 ratings in that time. I need to grab my phone real quick. Let me get that real quick because I got to do this thing. But hold on a second. I can talk. I have my phone. But there's a thing that happened with usually in October, November. So right when I put my book up from Chef Book 6 for pre-order, the algorithm changed. So because the algorithm changed, a lot of authors, you'll see it all over the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, what else is there? Reels, Threads, I don't know. Wherever the authors congregate. There it is. There it is. Okay. So what that did was change the way the rating scale works. And this is the rating scale here. Top 100 Kindle score. Out of every book is rated 1 to 2 million, 3 million, however many books there are on Amazon. But they're in each category. Last year, the release strategy was you put a book out, 3 books within 6 months, book, and a lot of people that like it buy it real quick. It shoots up the ranking, stays up really high, you make a bunch of money. Well, that changed, And in October, they changed the weight of sales of outside Amazon. Like if you let's go, where's my book? Just go to I don't want to pimp anybody else's book out at the moment. What were we at? 30 something? There we go, 37. So, no, wait, we'll go here. Okay, so traditionally, last year, 9 orders, right? Let me move my face too. I don't think I need to be in there. There. Okay. So this is weighted less now than this, I believe. So orders. So when you purchase the book, I believe the purchase order is weighted less than the page reads. Because I think, don't get me wrong, I believe this is, don't hold me to this, and I'm not, this is a disclaimer, this could be utter nonsense. And I love Amazon and everything about Amazon. I think they're the best publishing platform out there, bar none. Amazing. But I believe they are weighting Kindle edition normalized page reads over orders. That's just my personal opinion. So, if you like an author's books, it would behoove you, if you want to help them go higher in the ranking, to subscribe to Kindle Unlimited and read the books on Kindle Unlimited, because those are now weighted more than the orders themselves. Now, the author makes more money per order. I mean, that's just a fact. The author makes, I am an author, I make more money when you order the book. I make a 70% royalty. Here, I get 0.4 cents per page read. Just keep that in mind. And then I love Amazon. I think they're great. So yesterday we finished 15,000 Kindle. Anyway, so today. So anyway, that's that. So that was October. And not only did that change, but they also changed how fast these come in. So your ratings come in different now too. So like previously, you put a book out and say you have, like, here's something, this is very important to me as an author, is your Amazon followers, right? So basically, this is how many people on Amazon subscribe to follow you on Amazon. So whenever you release a book, they get a heads up, right? And these are people that are reading up of your stuff that Amazon deems to target them with newsletters and emails about your releases. It used to be, right when you released a book, you could rate it and it would show up right away. And those ratings would come out. People would see a lot of ratings, you'd shoot up the rankings, and people would buy your book. But now nobody's getting rated very fast. My book is getting rated very fast. But if we go to here, these just came out, right? But there's only a few ratings. 18, 8. Let's see when this book came out. It's brand new release. January 8th, so 4 days. That's a pretty good amount for 4 days. 6, see, that's not very many. 30th, that's 12. 1 rating. 1 rating. What does that mean? I'm not quite sure, but I believe, why am I talking like an idiot? December 28th, 4 ratings. What does that mean? I believe it means they're only accepting verified ratings on Amazon from people they are 100% sure are real people. Just keep that in mind. That's what I think it is. There's no more anyway. So, I did this book in 26 days. Released it. It's doing great. 380 ratings from people. So I know it's all real people because this here. I know the Amazon knows that these followers, these 5,000 followers on Amazon. Now, this doesn't count everywhere. This is just Amazon. there's people that follow me all over different, you know, internet sites and stuff, but these are guaranteed people. I know they're guaranteed Amazon people. So I think that's a part of it. So let me pop this into the chat. All right. So from Chef, book 6, doing great. There's actually a Kindle deal coming out. A Kindle Amazon. Let's see if I can show this. Amazon. Let me look. Amazon Prime reading. Yeah. So from Chef Book 1, let's see. Chef Book 1 will January something. Where is that? Anyway, back in November, they invited me for Prime reading there, and automatic renewal. No. Prime reading 25, 11, 15. Here we go. KDP support. Authorized 91 days. That's finished. When is this? Well, I know that's the. Where's the? I'm pretty sure it's like February 1st. And I got one for both UK and Prime. UK and US. But those will both be coming up in February. So in like 2 weeks, I'll get a huge bump to sales because book 1 of From Chef will be pushed by Prime reading to people who haven't read it, and the new book's out. And if anybody has read it, they will see that a new book's out again. So next month it'll be a resurgence of the book sale. So it's great. And then I have my new book that'll be coming out that we're going to finish this month and release at the end of the month, which is My Island, Book 1, Homestead. My Island, Book 1, Homestead. Maybe Homestead in Another World. My Island, and Chapter 1 will be Homestead Depot. How about Homestead? Okay. Maybe that's better. Book 1, Homestead Another World, and Homestead Depot. That might be better. All right. So I'll release this book at the end of the month, which will push me up into the algorithm. It may not be a bestseller because it's a brand new book, but it will be in the algorithm. I'll get at least 5,000 sales on it, which is 15 grand over the course of 2 to 3 months. It'll push me back into the algorithm. The rest of my books will get a re-up into it, and yeah, it'll be good. I also have to do the cover for it. I did a little bit on X yesterday. I didn't really like it, so I think I'm just going to draw the cover and send it to my cover guy, because usually I just sketch out a real crappy. So even here, so like I released this book, I got 25 ratings, which is not enough right now. I thought I'd have at least double that, and I released it on December 24th. I thought I'd have about double that, which is more, though. 25 ratings is more than a lot of those other people have, but we'll get more. It'll get more, but it's only been 18 days, so I'm getting more than a rating a day. But it's at 80K, but it'll shoot back up to the 30s eventually. As soon as it gets up over 4 to 4.5 stars, it'll start shooting back up. And when I release the second book, it'll start shooting back up. But it's also a re-release and a rewrite. So some people have read it before and they're a little burned by it. Like they're hesitant to reread a re-release. So I'll get a bump up in that too as the next 2 books come out. So this is a book which will be what is it called? I guess you call it like a sleeper hit. It's released in December, but it won't hit until March. But it'll hit hard in March, because in April, Mercenary Card Day, the Chef comes out, and the next 2 releases should pump it up to where when that comes out, that should shoot up. And then after that, I'm going to put out another from Chef in May, probably. Yeah. And then June, Island or My Island Book 2. July, another War Academy. August, another Island Lit. And then throughout this, there will be interspersed audiobook releases and stuff. So consistently, my books will be coming out every month. So the algorithm will keep pushing and pushing and pushing it. And then there's the podcast and then the shorts. It's just all like market saturation. So pretty exciting, really. Let me copy these. Pimp the book. All right, that's there. And then that's done. All right, now let me do this. Got to email the speech to text. So in the morning, what I do is I have I use my iPod Pro earphones, and they do like a really good job of recording speech to text and making the file size small enough to where it converts a lot easier than if you're doing it out loud, like with a like just without headset and you're recording in your phone. There's a lot of background noise. The headset. This is not me promoting, selling them or everything. Island Home Depot 4, call it. All right. Then we're going to share that to my email. Send. Okay, now let me grab that. All right. File received, Joseph. Thank you. Best done. All right. So he got the cover. Excellent. I also got my file. Beautiful. Scanning for viruses and downloading. Here. Did I download it? Okay. No? Download. There it goes. I did double download. Okay, so here I'll take that, drop it in. Boom. And then we'll put this file. Where's this one? That'll go here. And we'll drop it into here. Uploaded. Boom. So it'll take a few minutes. So this is a little bit shorter than yesterday. So this might be around 1,500 words. And that'll pop out here in a few minutes. That's done. Sales are fine. We're at 1,200. By end of the month, it'll be 3,000 plus. That's, yeah, last month it was like 6, so-ish. This month it'll be half, and then next month it'll shoot back up again. So, yeah, that's that. What else? What else? Any quality items? Anything new? Nope, I gotta do I Am Gamer. I gotta fix these, but that's not anything I'm in a hurry to do. Sales rank of books. Book 1's at 50, 70, 54, 33, 80. This will shoot back up. These are no longer out in publication. I'm gonna have to get rid of these. I don't know why they're still showing. Come back, get rid of that. Don't need that. No, we'll go back here. Pop this to here. This lady at the massage, my wife got me this massage place, and it's like, it's good, but it wasn't great. I don't want to go back. They just email the shit at me. Give my email. All right, that's done. Oh, I need to download. Hold on a second. These are updated for Warrior Academy Book 2. They are the new file. which is going to be, where is Warrior Academy? Here we go. Let's drop them in here, and then we'll rename that. Academy Redux Book 2 promo. Okay, drop that in there. All right, cool. Let's see, let's set this as our background. There we go. So we got rid of now it's Redux Book 2 instead of Hero Trio. Okay. Dunzo. Here we go. What are we in? Input, output. Oh, there it is. That was fast. Let's see how we're doing. So 1, 2, yeah, so probably 1,500 words-ish. Take that. Control C. Close. So we're at 23,974. Now we're at 25,4. So yeah, about what I said, 1,500, 14,5, 14,3. All right. So this is definitely about 50K. So this is a halfway point for the book. So now it's time to do rewrites and edits. Done here. Watch this later. Leave that here. Pull up the... Okay, so this is the first 1,700 words. This is the first chapter, I would say. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere around here probably be the end of the first chapter. This is probably, yeah, one chapter. Yeah, this will become 2 chapters. This will become double the size. All right. So, hi. Where you going, cat? Hi. Come here. Want to see my cat? One of them? She's so big. If you've been watching the stream, she used to be a little tiny thing. Now she's a monster. Look how big she is. Yuki, look how big you are. Whoa. She's chilled out a lot. A lot. My other cat, Wesley, is the best. He's napping. Okay, now what? Here. Work. Knock it off, crazy. Ouch. Hey, see, she still hasn't chilled out that much. Ooh. Say hi. You want to hang out? Get some coffee? She doesn't like coffee. Hey, I gotta work. I gotta work, and don't mess with Wesley. He's napping. All right, what's the next? What's the next thing? Opus. Where are we at? Calendar. Yeah, so I'm scheduled out to the 19th. So, yeah. What's that mean? Oh. Oh, no. Scheduled out to the... Hey, knock off, crazy. This would be... So, 5 a.m. on the 20th is where I got to pick up. But YouTube is scheduled out till 10 p.m. on the 16th. Okay, so 10 p.m. on the 16th. So we'll do that first. Home. And expired. think I'm going to let all these expire and just start doing new stuff. I can download new things. I'm going to remove from storage. Remove from storage. All right, that's it. That's, oh wait, go down. New. Remove from storage. Man, to buy some more credits too. All right, well, this is boring. I'm going to do this later. I don't feel like doing this. See, 2 days before expiring. I only have 76, so I'm going to take off autosave is off, auto imports on. So I think I'm just going to do new stuff, and we'll start with author workdays here. So 20. I don't even know. Yeah, these just a lot of these are clips, and it's eating up all my data, all my stuff. It'd be great if it just posted it on its own, but hey, cat, knock it off. Crazy. All right, I'll do this later. Opus is there. We'll leave this here. Back to here. All right, so let's think. I think it is time to write. Rewrite. All right. One reason I copy a portion of the manuscript original into a new one is because I use Grammarly for editing, and it can only do 10 pages at a time. And if you have more than 10, it's annoying. It resets and does all these things, and it's hard to use. So recommendation is to do 10 pages or less at a time. All right. I don't know if I want this or not, but I might. We'll save it for now. We'll leave it alone for now. There we go, single spacing. Turns it into 4 pages instead of 5. Let's make sure. See, that's not single spacing. That doesn't make any sense. There's a automatic page thing I gotta fix. After 0. Okay. All right. Save. Still there. Why is it not going away? Why is this doing this? It's pretty annoying. All right, let's see. Go home. Select all. Layout. Paragraph. Spacing. 0. Nope. Control Z. There we go. Fixed it. Okie doke. Home. Okay. Now, select all. paragraph. Good. All right. Boom. Boom. Right now, I'm just like making sure that there's no weird spacing or like indentations or anything, because that translates poorly into KDP. So I try to do that now when I'm writing, because it makes it a lot easier later on when I'm doing the whole thing. Okay, so now it's time to edit and rewrite. Okay, let's see. Let's see. We'll put this here. I think what I'll do is put something else on to watch while I'm writing. Let's see. Let's leave this the same size. Bring up here. What am I gonna watch? What am I gonna watch? Massive Leak. I do like me some Asmongold. He's funny. Alright, so what I'll do is remove this window. Stop that screen. Put this here. You can see that there. Boom. Alright, we'll put this here. Alright. That over here. And we're going to add a window. Share screen. Entire screen here. Audio. Boom. Added. Alright. Let's see this.
There's a laser? Wait, what? Take a look at this. So one of the security guards that was loyal to Nicolas Maduro has come forward, and they have told their story of what it was like when America attacked. The security guard. On the day of the operation, we didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard, but suddenly all of our radar systems shut down without any explanation. The next thing we saw were drones. A lot of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. Interviewer, so what happened next? After the drones appeared, some helicopters arrived, but there were very few. I think barely 8 helicopters. From those helicopters, soldiers came down, but a very small number, maybe 20 men, but those men were technologically very advanced. They didn't look like anything that we had fought before. And then the battle began. Yes, but it was a massacre. We were hundreds, but we had no chance. They were shooting with such precision and speed, it seemed like each soldier was firing 300 rounds a minute. We couldn't do anything. Oh my God. Is this Warhammer lore? Yeah, exactly. And then your own weapons, didn't they help? No, they did not help at all, because it wasn't just the weapons. At one point, they launched something. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. And your comrades, did they manage to resist? No, not at all. Those 20 men, without a single casualty, killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I'd never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after the sonic weapons or whatever it was. Oh my God. You know what they should do? They should play this interview as a recruitment ad for the United States military. Those 20 men, without a single casualty, killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I'd never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after the sonic weapon or whatever it was. So do you think the rest of the region should think twice before confronting the Americans? Without a doubt. I'm sending a warning to anyone who thinks they can fight the United States. They have no idea what...
I saw that already. And so
Happy
China's
Monday,
got
everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where we discuss leading political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's #2 economy. My name is Tony. I'm filming today in a hotel room. I'm currently in Vietnam for several days for meetings and some investigation here. As such, please forgive the informality of the current filming environment. We have a lot to cover. It looks like it's going to be a busy week, so let's jump in. And first up, we have the newest data for China's property sector in 2026. And surprise, surprise, it is not good. China's prolonged property downturn worsened in 2025, with new home sales falling to their lowest level in more than a decade, indeed dropping to pre-2010 levels and dropping by roughly half from their 2021 peak, highlighting the scale of the structural reset underway in the housing sector. Total sales area for new commercial housing last year fell about 9% versus the year before to roughly 890 million square meters, while sales value declined around 13% to 8.4 trillion yuan, 1.2 trillion US dollars, according to China Real Estate Information Corp data published over the weekend. Both figures are down around 50% from their highs in 2021, when sales reached 1.6 billion square meters and 17 trillion yuan, respectively, based on revised National Bureau of Statistics data cited by the head of China Real Estate Information Corp. The collapse in demand has sharply curbed developers' investment appetite. National real estate development investment in 2025 is estimated at 8.4 trillion yuan, a 39% decline from its 2021 peak, and a return to levels last seen in 2013. We also note that the devil is in the details. While this is a bad number, it becomes especially bad when we see that most of this investment is being pursued by state-run developers, not the private sector, suggesting that under market conditions, the rate would be even worse. New housing starts have plunged even more dramatically, falling about 74% from their 2019 high to just 580 million square meters. While the contraction in new supply might normally support prices, that mechanism has broken down. Industry researchers say today's new home buyers are mainly upgraders seeking higher quality projects that meet updated standards, leaving older developments dependent on steep discounts and struggling to clear inventory. As a result, reduced supply has not translated into stronger overall demand. By contrast, the second-hand market has shown some signs of stabilization. In 30 major cities tracked by China Real Estate Information Corp, second-hand home transactions reached 214 million square meters in 2025, a 5-year high, and nearly 70% of total housing transactions in those markets. We note that while this is a 5-year high, it is still below pre-crisis levels. But this resilience overall has come at a cost. Prices. Data from Ke Holdings show average second-hand home prices in those cities have fallen nearly 40% from their peak. And of course, second-hand home sales don't produce new land use revenue, which local governments rely on. New home prices have held up better, buoyed by a shift towards higher cost projects and the removal of price caps. But analysts warn that falling second-hand prices continue to exert downward pressure across the market. With inventories still incredibly high in many cities, with oversupply estimated to be in the tens of millions of units, policymakers face a long road to stabilizing expectations and guiding the sector toward a new, smaller growth model. Meanwhile, China
Leaving?
Vanco, one of the country's largest home buyers, is facing a
My wife's getting ready for work, so I'll probably
seeks creditor approval
disappear from the camera
to
and say
delay
goodbyes.
repayments on 5.7 billion yuan, 817 million US dollars of onshore bonds, and prepares a broader debt restructuring plan. The Shenzhen-based developer must submit revised extension proposals by the end of Monday today, after bondholders rejected earlier plans for a 12-month deferral, agreeing only to brief grace period extensions. Conqueror is the last major Chinese developer to avoid outright default, but pressure is mounting. The company is burdened with nearly $50 billion in interest-bearing liabilities and
What kind of
cash in
tone?
December after a key state-owned shareholder, Shenzhen Metro Group, scaled back support. We covered that at the time. That move triggered market anxiety and sent some of Vanco's bonds to record lows. Failure to reach a compromise with creditors or a government-mandated restructuring could effectively amount to a default, opening a new front in China's property crisis, which has already seen more than $130 billion in missed payments across the sector. Next up, Chinese companies have signaled ambitions to deploy more than 200,000 internet satellites, filing a wave of submissions with the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, just as Beijing intensifies criticism of Elon Musk's SpaceX for crowding low Earth orbit. Around a dozen Chinese filings were lodged with the UN agency late last month, led by two massive projects, CTC-1 and CTC-2. They together proposed nearly 194,000 satellites. The filings were made by the newly established Institute for Radio Spectrum Utilization and Technological Innovation, which was registered in Hebei province only a day after submitting its plans. The move signals China's determination to catch up with SpaceX, whose Starlink constellation dominates low Earth orbit and accounts for the majority of satellites currently in service. Orbital slots and radio frequencies are finite, giving early movers a strategic advantage. On Friday, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission approved SpaceX's request to deploy an additional 7,500 second-generation Starlink satellites, potentially bringing its total to 15,000 by 2031. SpaceX has applied to launch as many as 42,000 satellites overall. China is pursuing multiple mega constellation projects of its own. These include the state-backed Huawei network, targeting around 13,000 satellites, and Shanghai Space Co's Tianfan project, which aims for more than 15,000 by 2030. China Mobile has also made its first ITU filing, while several private startups are advancing smaller constellations. Beijing has warned that Starlink poses security risks and is crowding shared orbital resources, raising collision dangers. With low Earth orbit becoming increasingly congested, competition over space-based internet infrastructure is emerging as a new front in US-China technological rivalry. Now, we have one more development to cover, but just quickly, if you want to continue to be on top of analysis like today's on China, consider subscribing. If you're getting some value from today's episode, it's a huge help if you can hit the like button. And if you'd like to go the extra mile and help me keep China Update financially sustainable, part of this trip to Vietnam is actually to build up connections and networks so then I can do better China-Vietnam and China-Vietnam-US technology and trade competition coverage in the future. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. As always, for everyone who supports the channel, thank you so
that you never find, and stuff like that. I immediately reach out to the production company. I write an email, this arrogant pre-chat GPT email that's like, I'm better at these
You
things.
guys suck, let me in.
Exactly, dude. That was like the premise of it. And 10 days later, long story short, I'm on a plane to Panama to go jiggle my junk naked in the jungle for 21 days on Naked and Afraid. Anyway, I was doing these odd jobs, biology jobs with a bunch of different companies. And I come home one day, I'm fried. I've been on the Channel Islands for 2 weeks in 100-degree heat, blah, blah, blah. Plop down on the couch. I'm exhausted. I'm filthy dirty. I'm just like, oh. Jessica, my girlfriend at the time, she's like, are you okay? Like, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I'm just beat. And she's like, have you seen this stupid show on TV?
That's
like, what is this?
Stupid show.
And it's Naked and Afraid, which is a survival reality show, if you don't know it. And this was early days. It was like second episode or something of the whole series. I was like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's these people like trying to survive out in the bush. And they're like crying and whining and doing all this shit. And she's like, I've seen you do this stuff for fun. And like, you just go out there, not the naked part, but like you go out there and build a fire just to sleep in the hills of Cayucas, California for 3 nights, just to look for bears that you never find, and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah. So I didn't know this at the time. I've learned so much since then and started my production company and everything. But TV shows are not made by Discovery Channel. They're made by production companies, right?
Yeah.
And so the credits roll on The Naked and Afraid after watching this big burly Marine guy bawl his eyes out or whatever about his fire going out. And the credits roll, and I'm like, I can do this so much better than these guys. I'm so cocky still. And so I see that it comes up like the name of the production company. So I immediately reach out to the production company. I write an email, this arrogant pre-chat GPT email that's like, I'm better at these
You
things.
guys suck. Let me in.
Exactly, dude. That was like the premise of it. And 10 days later, long story short, I'm on a plane to Panama to go jiggle my junk naked in the jungle for 21 days on Naked and Afraid. I go down there and it is literally, and I was very lucky with where I got placed. I got placed in a tropical jungle that I understood the environment as being a biologist, understood the habitat, understood what plants were edible, what plants were toxic, understood the water from all my spearfishing days, how to dive, everything else. So it was like a vacation. It was like a 21-day paid vacation for me. I had fun. I was smiling. I was giggling. The whole thing was not serious to me at all. And the other survivalists are like, take this seriously, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm good. I got 30 pounds of jungle potatoes at the hut. Like, I'm good. I'm not taking this seriously. This is vacation. I got to go home and work after this. And the producers are like, dude, nobody's going to like you. Like, they'd be like, how's it going? Like, my partner's name was Cassie, and she was not very good. But the producers would be like, what's going on between you and Cassie? I'd be like, oh, nothing. She's just hanging out, and I'm over here fishing. And they're like, is she the worst person you've ever met or not? And I was like, no, not really. You know, and they're just like, everybody's going to hate you. Like, you got to talk shit, and you got to cry, and you got to struggle.
You're not the reality TV guy.
And I'm just, that's not me. That's just not me at all.
How real was it, though? Like, you know, because some of these shows, it'll be like it's highly produced, and they're like, you stand there, you do this, and they're not really doing the stuff. And then other ones, of course, they still have to do the reality stuff, but it's actually like you're in it, you're doing it. But how real was it as far as like you doing the thing?
When I did it, it was 100% real. Like, they left remote cameras at night. There was no one there. The audio guys were not, like, nobody was allowed to talk to you. You know, nobody except for one producer who'd ask you questions. They had to be hands off. They had to watch from a distance, kind of thing. It was like 100% real. I've heard since then it's got pretty fake, but I don't know if that's true or not. I heard that from one guy who went on the show. But I just went and did this 21-day naked nudist colony at vacation, and I broke all the rules and did all the regular shit I do and got in trouble and everything else, and had a great time. And then I came out of there, went back to being a biologist, didn't think twice about it.
They were just cool with you going to do that for 21 days?
Yeah, because I was a contractor. So I'd come in, I'd do a job for a week or two, then I'd take 2-3 weeks off, then I'd do another job because it's full-on jobs.
It's like, where'd you go? I went to Panama to be on Discovery Channel. Yeah. I'm going to go count some ants now.
Yeah, exactly. And they were just like, you're weird. But went back to being a biologist, still thought that that was going to be my career. And the show came out like 6 months later. And not only were the producers wrong about me being like disliked and nobody listening or small character or whatever, all the stuff they said that I just didn't care about, I ended up being the highest rated survivalist in the show's history at that point because it was easy. Got tons
people
of food.
Looked at you like, this guy's a badass.
Yeah, that's how the audience saw me. They were just like, this guy's just joking and having fun and piling up food and drinks and shelters and everything else. Anyway, that came out, and then I got this. This was back when reality TV was still important. Right. In today's world, it's like nobody even has cable anymore.
Yeah.
But that came out, and like everybody that does Survivor, The Bachelor, Love Island, Naked and Afraid, you get your 5 minutes of fame with your local press. You know, I don't mean like the New York Times was calling me. I mean the Santa Barbara Independent that gets 45 reads a day.
Hey, listen, they're important too.
They are 100%, and that's my whole point. They helped launch my real career. But I got my 5 seconds of fame with the local press, and they call me and be like, tell us about Naked and Afraid. I'm like, no thanks. Like, what do you mean? Like, I don't really want to talk about that. That was just fun. If you want, I'll tell you about the largest lobster that I found that's ever been caught in the state of California. This hammerhead that I saw at the Channel Islands that hasn't been documented that far north in over 100 years. All these science things that I thought were super duper cool. And most of them were just like, no thanks, click. And a couple of them were like, all right, tell me about that. And we'll kind of weave in the Naked and Afraid angle. And a couple of these stories, like me with the giant lobster, the hammerhead one I mentioned, they went viral. They got picked up by like the Daily Mail and places like that. Wow. And they like blew up, millions and millions of views. This is a bygone era. We're talking 10 years ago when those things were really impactful. Then I got calls from people going, hey, like we saw your Naked and Afraid. We saw your viral news stories in the Daily Mail about the giant lobster and about the hammerhead bite and blah, 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 all these things. And do you want to host a TV show? This only happened twice. It wasn't like a lot of people contacted me. And I was like, yeah, I'd love to host a TV show, like, you know, be a Steve Irwin and like tell people about snakes and shit.
You gotta throw the accent back on.
Yeah, totally. And so they sent me stuff. And I remember one of them, I'm not joking, Julian, if I'm lying, I'm dying, was a bear dating show. So I was a bear dating show. So I forget how the show worked, but I was going to be the host, and there was going to be a bear, a male bear and a female bear, and then like a human male and female, and they were going to compare. And I was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Ooh. Hey guys, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It's a huge, huge help. Thank you. They were going to get the bears to date.
Apparently. So obviously that never went forward, right? And I didn't sign on to that. I just looked at it and thought, this is so stupid.
Oh my God.
But I started to learn the inner workings of like, you find a talent, which was me. You develop an idea, you write it all out, you put out episodes as an outline, you create a budget. And I had been working as a scientist. Like I took the data, I analyzed it, and I was like, this is stupid. I can create a TV show. Like if this is the best they've got, fucking bear dating shows.
That was the best idea, really.
That I got presented with. There were better ones out there, I'm sure. But I just said no to all the production companies that reached out to me because I was like, this is terrible. Yeah. This is garbage media. And I created my own TV show, which was Extinct or Alive, which is a show I did for a couple of years.
Was that involving opening up your own production company?
That came later, many years later. Yeah.
Okay. So how did you get that made?
So I partnered with. So I looked at the process. I partnered with a guy named Patrick DeLuca, who has lived in LA, and we wrote out this Extinct or Alive TV show, created this concept, because as a biologist, as someone who's spent his whole life looking for rare animals, finding these things, like I just mentioned, these giant lobsters, these hammerheads.
I want to come back to that, by the way, but keep going.
Yeah, I said to Patrick, I was like, listen, people declare things extinct that aren't extinct. And once you declare something extinct, it doesn't mean hiding in a bush or around the next corner. It means eradicated from the planet, like doesn't exist any longer. So once that happens, all hope is given up, funding dries up, conservation efforts go away. I was like, we should go find extinct animals, like prove science wrong. You can tell there's a theme with me. And so he's like, yeah, I love that idea. Let's do it. So we wrote it out, came up with these ideas. And then I saved up all my money. My wife was working on a part-time teacher salary. I was doing odd biology jobs, odd boating jobs, things like that, taking people fishing, like whatever I could do to make money. And I'd save up money, drive down to LA, because nobody would take a meeting with me. And I'd literally knock on production companies' doors.
Even after the success, they wouldn't take a meeting with you.
But the success was minuscule, and it was fly by night. It was one Naked and Afraid show and a couple like headlines in the news, and then it had all gone away. From when that happened to when I got a production company, which was here in New York, and I'll tell that story in a second, to agree took 3 years. So for 3 years,
still, that's surprising. But okay.
Yeah, for 3 years, people wouldn't even take meetings. I mean, some would, but it wasn't like I could make a phone call and set a meeting. I had to literally go knock on production companies' doors, including the production company that did Naked and Afraid, and pitch them. And they're like, nope, not interested. Anyway, one time I saved up for 3 months, came over to New York City, stayed in a hostel, walked into the office of my now business partner and said, hey, here's my idea for an extinct animal TV show. And after getting no for 3 years, he goes, yeah, let's do it. Get out of my office. And I was like, holy shit. Okay. Yes, sir. Bye-bye. And so that was it. And then we built that out, pitched it to Animal Planet. That took like another year until they said yes. And then it became a pilot. The pilot crushed it. And then it became a series, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I built my production company.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people are so fascinated with the unknown in anything, but you know, there's something about the fact that we have these huge biospheres around the world where we scientists can even say definitively, we have not even discovered X% of species in here, and X is a big fucking number.
Right. That's right.
Then you take into account species that, like, as you say, we declared extinct just because we haven't seen it.
Yep.
But you don't know if they went into a different part of the environment or changed up where they were going. I mean, it's such a cool field of study.
Especially because a lot of the times it's changed a little bit recently, and it's created a larger field now, like a lost species de-extinction field. But at the time, it was like some stuffy ass guy in a smoking jacket in London was like, that animal is extinct, you know, and it wasn't that bad, but like you know, some British dude would go on a survey for 10 days, stay in the Four Seasons, and come back and be like, it's not there. And you're like, I don't know if this is correct, you know, but nobody was calling it out. And I'm being dramatic for, you know, the sake of being dramatic, but it was like, it's very, very hard to say something's extinct, you know, like definitively after a short survey from some scientist that flew in to check it out. So we just pushed further and went harder and went deeper, and we found 8 species that had been declared extinct.
All right, what was the first one you found?
The Zanzibar leopard.
How do you even do this? You just go and you're like, all right, we're going to start looking, roll cameras, fuck it.
Yeah, that's how I thought it was going to go, because we started with the special for Monster Week, which used to be on Animal Planet, and that's how I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be like, roll cameras, let's go. But no, it's again, I'm lucky because I came up in the sciences. So I had surveys, I had processes, I bought trail cameras, I knew how to track stuff growing up in the bush in Zimbabwe, being the son of safari business owners. I had all this, like, these unique ideas of like scent trailing things to bring them close to the camera, like dragging a dead carcass, you know, to make a scent trail.
Yeah.
And like spraying pheromones in the trees to get animals to come by. Like I did all these weird things, and that's what actually made the show famous. It wasn't really the discoveries, which helped, but it was like
the tactics.
Yeah. And so the first one was, and to this day, we don't know definitively that it was a Zanzibar leopard as opposed to just an African leopard, but off the coast of Africa is the island of Zanzibar, off the coast of Tanzania.
I'll pull that up.
And we went there to look for a rumored leopard that had been extinct for 30 or 40 years, a smaller island leopard. Yeah, so if you zoom in, way in, you'll see the island there. So we went there. Long story short, we made a meat tree, which is a tree covered in meat, like a giant cat's play toy. Like I said, unorthodox methods, and caught this leopard walking through the bushes on trail camera. And that was like our first big discovery.
Is that like a pinch yourself kind of moment,
dude?
Where you're like, did I just see what I just fucking saw?
So when I saw it, because we go through hundreds and hundreds of trail, you know, like game camera clips. When I saw it, I was sitting on the back of the bus on the way back to the town, because we'd been in the national park for a few days, and we were like, we're going to go to town, get a hotel, get a shower, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting on the back of the bus on my laptop going through clips, and I like played it. I like looked up, like played it again, like played it again. And then I just threw my laptop in the air. It's all on camera. Like the camera started rolling because they heard me start screaming. I'm like, pull over, pull the bus over. I ran up. My guys were like, what's going on? What's going on? I grabbed my audio guy by the collar, pulled him in, and headbutt him. Like I just went nuts. Like, and he's like, why did you do that? I was like, I don't know. And I was like showing them the laptop, and it was just like I just went ape shit. And they're like, what's wrong with you?
Like, look at the tape.
Yeah. And then that was like our first big discovery, and that rolled into, you know, a second season with a little bit more funding, and so I could get better tools and go for longer. And yeah, we ended up finding 8 lost species on that series.
Did you, on that first one though, thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.
Okay, what else? Interesting. I don't feel like watching that. U.S. housing crisis explained. I already know about that. Worse for Russia. Something big broke in Russia. Fed, know about that. Addiction, know about that. Global economy shifting. Oh, I think I need to get some coffee. Let me grab some coffee. I'll be right back. Let me put on... Oh, here we go. What's going on with basketball? Be back.
Hello, welcome to the Hoop Collective podcast. We talk about the NBA, which we're doing on Sunday evening. Joining us from New York City, Tim Bontemps.
Hello, everybody. I want to know what this howdy pennant is in the background of our guy's new fancy setup in his new house.
Yes, joining us from New Digs in Dallas is Ben McMahon.
Howdy, partners. That actually was sent to me by one of our crack sports producers, Jessica Showbar, a.k.a. Show Busy.
Watch it, but currently just hit 2,090 words. So I was at
from the 50 states and 50 days thing.
If we remember, here, I'll put this over here. I was at 1497, I think it was. Let me take a look. We can double check. So in that time where I've been watching those videos, yeah, I wrote 300-ish words. So we're at 2090. By the end of the, what's that? 2, 3, 4 pages, we'll be at probably 3,000 words. And then, yeah, 2,500, 3,000, then I'll do the next chapter. 3,000 words a chapter is pretty good, I think. All right. Ooh. Stretch it. Oof. I have a standing desk. I write standing. I don't like sitting for long periods. It's just bad for you, but it's lazy. Okay, but I guess if you have to do this for hours and hours, you know. I usually stand on one leg, do tree, switch legs a little bit, bounce around, because, you know, the talking thing with, I'm wearing sweatpants, that's why I'm adjusting them, because I'm doing tree. Usually when I'm writing, I write for a little bit, pace, walk around, come back, listen to music, write for a little bit, walk around, then I have music going in the background. So don't sit here and stare at the screen for hours. I come in, come out, come in, come out, write a couple hundred words, come in, come out, because walking, pacing helps me think. Anyway, that's what I usually do. All right. So anyway, we're on page 2 here. So let's see what's going on here. I don't really feel like watching Hoop Collective. I quit watching Hoop Collective because, oh look, that's me. Oil war collapses. Besant panics over oil war collapse. Chinese exports. Okay, his guy's super Chinese positive, and some other guys are super Chinese negative. Blah blah blah. U.S. survives. They should have left Venezuela forever ago. That's retarded. I don't know. Yes, aliens are real. Yes, UFOs are real. So what? What are you gonna do about it? You know. What else? What else? Food pyramid, yeah. Socialist, Bill Maher, blah, blah, blah. Music, Fraud of the Century. I like James Lee. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
This man is incomparable.
He's really good. If you want to know like some crazy shit, follow James Lee. He's like on point. He's wild, dude. I'm not saying it's real. I'm just saying he's wild.
That is what your highly funded department is telling me.
A sprawling 388-acre parcel of land located in West Los Angeles, beginning at the corner of Wilshire and San Vicente Boulevards, represents one of the most valuable and contested pieces of real estate in the United States. It is also the site of a major crime scene, a case of staggering fraud of the highest magnitude. Originally deeded in 1888 by private philanthropists as a permanent sanctuary for disabled soldiers, the land has been systematically stripped of its noble purpose over the last half-century through a combination of bureaucratic negligence, legislative maneuvering, and outright criminal corruption, and transformed from a home for veterans into a playground for the neighboring elite and a revenue engine for commercial interests. For example, UCLA runs a massive multi-million-dollar baseball complex here. The students of the ultra-exclusive Brentwood School play tennis and swim in Olympic-sized swimming pools here. Even an oil company drills for profit here. Meanwhile, on the sidewalks just outside the gates, veterans of the United States Armed Forces sleep in squalid tents, dying of exposure and neglect on the doorstep of the land that they are legally entitled to. And today, we're going to follow the money, we're going to name the villains, and we're going to show you how, after 50 years of corruption, the veterans finally have a chance to take back the land that's rightfully theirs. In 1888, as the United States grappled with the long-term care of Civil War veterans. Senator John P. Jones and philanthropists Arcadia Bandini de Stearns Baker and Colonel Robert Symington Baker donated approximately 300 acres of land to the National Home for Disabled Veteran Soldiers. The deed contained a specific and binding restrictive covenant, which is that the land was to be used to provide a permanent home for the nation's veterans. And for nearly 80 years, the federal government honored this promise. The Pacific branch of the National Home functioned as a self-sustaining city, housing over 4,000 veterans who lived, worked, and farmed on the property. The campus featured a trolley station, a majestic chapel, theaters, and barracks, embodying the old soldiers' home concept that Abraham Lincoln had championed. But then, disaster struck. In 1971, the Sylmar earthquake, a magnitude 6.6 quake, struck Los Angeles, causing 65 deaths, over 2,000 injuries, and $500 million plus in damages. As a result, the historic barracks were declared seismically unsafe, and rather than renovating them, they were left to ruin. With the soldiers now removed, the VA began ignoring the original deed and decided to parse it out to the highest bidders, or more accurately, to the most politically connected neighbors. Between 1990 and 2010, the West Los Angeles VA campus was transformed into a patchwork of commercial leases that bore little to no relationship to veteran care. Through what they call enhanced use leases, the VA became a landlord to the West Side's elite. The University of California, Los Angeles secured a lease for a baseball stadium on 10 acres of prime land that is now home to the UCLA Bruins baseball team. Brentwood School, an elite private K-12 academy, negotiated a lease for 22 acres of land to build a lavish athletic complex, complete with tennis courts, sports fields, and an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Other uses include a laundry facility for Marriott hotels, storage for 20th Century Fox sets, and even an oil drilling operation. Meanwhile, the number of homeless veterans in Los Angeles County swelled to over 4,000. But how and why was this ever allowed to happen?
Based on the deed, anything that doesn't permanently house and is a home for a homeless veteran and serving a homeless veteran would be not just unethical and immoral, it would be illegal to violate the federal deed. Additionally, you have a veteran, Ted Lieu, the Congress member, who tries to make something like the West LA Leasing Act, which essentially is an attempt to legitimize illegitimate leases.
This is Senate D. Vermont, known to his followers as Mr. Checkpoint, a community advocate and watchdog who has been on the ground connecting dots between nefarious actors within the VA, nonprofits, real estate developers, and sleazy politicians working in concert to put profits over people.
Mr. Tetley, I just had one quick question. The 2016 Leasing Act that you authored, it specifically says that if the Office of Inspector General finds any lease to be violated, the Secretary of the VA can no longer go through a lease. Is that correct? You authored the 2016 Leasing Act.
I did, and the IG makes recommendations to the VA, and then the VA
over 50% of the leases violate the law, the Office of Inspector General said. And wait, just listen, sir, your law said, though, that the Secretary of the VA...
So I expect the VA to file the IG's findings.
But so what gives the authority to work with Thomas Saffron? Shame on you, man.
In 2013, U.S. District Judge James Otero ruled in Valentini versus Shinseki that the commercial leases were indeed unauthorized under the VA's governing statutes. And this ruling should have been the end of commercial occupation of the VA's land, if not for the efforts of Congressman Ted Lieu, who represents the district that encompasses West LA, Brentwood, and UCLA, and the surrounding affluent neighborhoods. Congressman Lieu introduced H.R. 5936, West Los Angeles Leasing Act of 2016. Now, this was sold at the time as the solution to the veteran housing crisis, but in reality, it was nothing more than a legislative Trojan horse designed to protect the powerful tenants who are illegally occupying the land. Lieu included a specific carve-out in the law that explicitly authorized the VA to sign a new lease with the Regents of the University of California, effectively legalizing the UCLA lease for the Jackie Robinson Baseball Stadium, the very facility the courts had previously deemed a violation of the 1988 deed. Section 2B of the lease authorized leases to a third party to provide services that principally benefit veterans and their families for a number of non-housing related purposes, including peer activities, socialization, physical recreation, and transportation. And it was this specific language that allowed the likes of Brentwood School to claim that their swimming pool was a, quote, veteran benefit, simply because they sometimes allowed veterans to use
this is
off hours.
Mr. Checkpoint. I don't know who that is.
Raking in tens of millions of dollars
Check
a
him out,
year,
though.
owned by a company called Westside Services because it gave discounted parking to veterans. Finally, Lou's law also included something called a master plan, which called for building 1,200 units of permanent supportive housing on the property. But instead of the VA building it and providing the service to veterans free of charge, they contracted a nonprofit called the West LA Veterans Collective.
I need something to snack on. I'll be right back.
Saffron to build and manage the project. Except to this date, very few of those units have actually ever been built. And for those that have been built, they're charging veterans a monthly rent while also receiving federal subsidies. So wait a minute. The law that was supposed to end the fraud ends up just legalizing said fraud and becoming a massive giveaway to private interests. How was this ever allowed to happen? Well, between 2014 and 2016, as Lou's legislation was being drafted and debated, the Brentwood School spent nearly $1 million on federal lobbying. Also, according to a 2016 lobbying report, the University of California also lobbied directly for the passage of HR 5936. So it's almost like the bill was written directly for them. Or some might call this a fortuitous coincidence. And while the politicians and lobbyists were shaking hands in Washington, a brazen criminal conspiracy was rotting the VA from the inside out. Meet Ralph Tillman, who for years served as the VA's chief of asset management. Essentially, he was the gatekeeper of this multi-billion-dollar plot of land, which, as it turned out, he strip mined to the highest bidder. In 2018, Tillman pled guilty to accepting over $250,000 in bribes from a man named Richard Scott, the owner of Westside Services, the very parking lot operator Congressman Ted Lieu's legislation helped protect. Let's continue to follow the money. At this point, we already know Congressman Ted Lieu, but standing right beside him was Karen Bass. Before she was the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass was a congresswoman representing the districts adjacent to the VA. She was a key co-sponsor and vocal champion of the West Los Angeles Leasing Act of 2016, and she, along with Lieu, assured the public that their quote-unquote master plan would solve veteran homelessness. So guess who was one of Karen Bass's major campaign donors? That's right, Thomas Saffron, the developer who coincidentally was awarded the contract to build 1,200 units of new housing for veterans. So either this is a staggering conflict of interest of criminal proportions, or maybe just another coincidence. You should also know that Saffron is a chancellor's associate at UCLA and holds an MBA from the university. So perhaps not all too surprising, under Saffron, the housing projects have been plagued by inexplicable delays, ballooning costs, and a, quote, luxury affordable model that enriches the developer while veterans suffer in the streets.
Come take a look into Building 402. This isn't the West LA VA Soldiers Home in our nation's capital of veteran homelessness. It's 107 studios and 13 two-bedrooms. It's 435 square feet. I don't think this kitchen, the fridge, and the stove and the oven gets smaller. How much do you think Thomas Saffron and Associates, the Veteran Collective, claims these 120 units cost them to build? Well, we're going to tell you it is $64,261,556. That is over $500,000 per unit.
Forgive my asking such a dumb question, but for that price, couldn't we just buy them all a home? None of this makes any sense. But of course, it's not really supposed to, because as long as the public is too distracted to look, the land stays open for the tennis courts, the baseball diamonds, and the oil drills. But to keep a scam of this magnitude running for decades without a public revolt, you need a friendly face to sanitize the neglect. Enter a woman named Marcy Polier Schwartz and her nonprofit Village for Vets, which is an organization that supposedly distributes meals and small emergency grants in the form of sandwiches and sleeping bags. All the while, the massive land theft continues in the background. None of that ends up being much of a surprise once you find out that Marcy Schwartz herself is a wealthy Brentwood resident and has publicly advocated against building veteran housing, opting instead to favor things like parking lots. The same lots, by the way, involved in the Tillman bribery scandal, some of which she herself owns. So today we're going to call this what it really is. This isn't just policy failure. It's not just bureaucratic incompetence. This is a massive multi-billion-dollar real estate fraud. This is corrupt officials like Ted Lieu and Karen Bass writing laws to legalize the theft. This is the university regents and Thomas Saffron spending millions of dollars to buy those laws. This is high-ranking VA officials taking cash to look the other way. This is nonprofits run by people like Marcy Polier Schwartz, who put her own financial interests ahead of the veterans. These are people who looked at this sacred land that belongs to the men and women who help protect this country, land that's worth tens of billions of dollars, and they decided that it was too valuable for homeless veterans, so they took it for themselves, but that ends now.
I think raising awareness, look at all the stuff we see about recent fraud issues going viral and stuff. I mean, it's been shared ad nausea, but for what? I mean, this actual issue can end veteran homelessness in Los Angeles. Los Angeles was not the nation's capital of veteran homelessness. In fact, Los Angeles had more veterans being rehabilitated in Los Angeles than anywhere before. And we can absolutely get to that. We can house what they say is maybe 10% of the homeless population here in Los Angeles without spending any city, county, or state tax dollars. Just federal, $1.4 billion budget. The whole VA as a nation has like a $300+ billion budget. The money is there, the land is there, the corruption's in the way, and the public awareness literally erodes that. And if we can reach out to our if we can reach out to our public officials, this will be made a difference. I mean, I absolutely believe that.
It's so messed up. California is such garbage. It's crazy. They do that everywhere. It's nuts how people are such thieves. Hey, it's me. Hey, let's see how live yet. No, not live yet. Yeah, he's entertaining. What else is there? How to quickly escape dopamine hole, blah, 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 tax the rich, blah, 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 begins. Digital prison, blah, blah, blah. Yep. Boring, 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 boring. I don't really watch much of the news and stuff anymore because I get all my news from yesterday and early in the morning by 5:36 in the morning. So everybody that I used to watch that I enjoyed seeing, telling me about things, they're so behind the times. They're slow, so it's boring to me. Here we go. Iran's bank collapse, blah, blah, blah. Chinese military, stuff in the face, yada, yada, yada. Truly, X is the best place to go if you really want to know what's going on. Something broke in Russia. He becomes a god. No, he doesn't. This is a clickbait. Right out in the open, CNN, blah, 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 Moscow, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple YouTubers that are really on specific things, and they kind of, if you can watch them, can really predict what's going to happen the next few days. So it's kind of interesting. There's a shipping guy. It's like a shipping show. There's a war guy that wears a hat. There's, a few other people. Boring, boring, boring. Ukraine war, boring, boring, boring. Let's see score on X. You notifications. It's my dad. Thank you. Let's see what is home. What is popular live? Tim Waltz to resign. Death toll rises Iran. Me, author Workday. Bradley Cooper. Trigonometry. It's kind of like blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, not much going on here. Let's see. Maybe there is... Tom's on. Listen to him. He's interesting. Oh, I enjoyed this debate thing. If anybody watched that, that was entertaining. It was funny. They kind of... It's funny watching two obviously successful women shit on each other. It's so funny. Women are the worst to each other.
Who have no idea how the real world works and yet want to advise you on how to live in it. Let me go through your complaints. Feminists want control over their bodies. You win. You have 12 types of birth control, and you can actually Uber Eats a Plan B. You have abortion on demand, and in the states that it's not, it's simply a weekend trip. You have aborted an eighth of the world population. You win. Feminists wanted to fight against rape culture. You win. If a woman is raped, assaulted, or if she revokes consent after the fact, she has the power to get a man fired from his job, kicked out of school, or thrown in jail. You won, feminists. Women want to be free of traditional gender roles? Fine. Men invented the dishwasher, the Roomba, the air fryer, fast food, and Uber Eats. There are meal prep services and cheap restaurants. You win. Women wanted to have a career first and get married later in life. Men allowed women to come into the workforce and have millions of dollars in funding, pushing women into male-dominated fields and scholarships, and invented IVF to give us another 5 years of fertility. The husbands pay for the IVF, and they are pushing to get it taxpayer funded. You win. Women wanted to be sexually liberated instead of getting married. Men invented Tinder and Hinge so random men can literally come to your door. The men from your hometown are not good enough. Men invented social media so you can get flown out by the highest status men in the world. Women did not want to work labor jobs? Fine. Men invented social media so you can talk into a microphone and get paid. You can now work from home so you can have a family and be a mom. You can make money selling your nudes on the internet and become a billionaire. Women did not want to give birth? Fine. Men invented surrogacy so another woman can do it for you. Women wanted to be thin without working out. Now you have Ozempic. You want to look younger? Fine. Men invented Botox, hair dye.
Is this all her?
Phone, nose
all right, well,
job,
this is intense. I can't. That's too much.
It seems like in their third week, Iran is.
Yeah, see, I know all this stuff. It's hard to watch them now because I already watched it. I already watched all the news this morning. I already figured it all out. Like, they're like behind.
Remember, you were in the movie.
Tony Robbins is cool.
Said,
Let's see what this
hell
is.
yeah, Tony Robbins. He's the reason I'm successful. I was into his audiobooks and I read his book, and that just got me thinking. Wait a second, maybe there's something more to this. And I found when I was 15 years old on my mom's bookshelf. It was called Awaken the Giant Within.
Yes.
I read that book when I was 15. Completely reshaped my mindset when it came to limiting beliefs, success, money. It got me into all of the self-help, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes.
But it was your book and the movie Shallow Hal.
I'll tell you a funny story about Shallow Hal.
Yeah.
So the Farrelly brothers are pretty hysterical, funny guys, and they're friends of mine, and they wanted to tell me, please come to the movie. And I'm like, I'm not an actor. I don't want to do this. And then they sent me the script from Shallow Hal. So I read it, and I'm an emotional guy. So I love like the scene where the guy's in the hospital and they see the kids the way they do. It was just cool stuff. I like the theme. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And then so they gave me the script. And so I memorized the script, and it's terrible what I'm doing. It's not what I would really do. But the whole thing was originally it was written by a guy that was a legally blind guy who'd bought off of my infomercial. He heard an infomercial, bought my cassette program, had never written a movie, and wrote this movie. That's why it's about inner beauty. And they didn't tell him that I was coming. They just, the original.
Leaving? All right, let me say goodbye. Can I help you with stuff out? How you feeling? Okay. Okay, wife is off to work. What are we at, an hour and 36 minutes? That's a long-ass stream, man. So currently I'm at 2236 for words. That means I have 7,764 to go. Wow.
The script wasn't me. It was, this kind of faith healer that was turning people around. They said, no, that would never work. But if you're stuck with an elevator with Tony Robbins, he'd turn you around. So I come in and I memorize the whole thing. And then I meet this guy for the first time. Here's my voice. And they didn't tell him or I that I was going to be there. But the funniest part was I said, guys, this is not what I would do. It's like, this is BS. I said, I'm happy to do it. It's a pleasure to be a part of this movie. But why don't I just show you what I'd really do? And they said, well, we don't have a script. And I said to Jason Alexander, I said, don't worry, he'll react. And then I did that healing scene that you've seen, right? And he did not know what to do, should have go blind. It was so funny. But, it's a movie they shoot it 8 million times again from every angle.
Yeah.
But it was a fun experience because it was tied to someone who actually had been transformed by my work.
How realistic is that in terms of the scenario where you can make someone attracted to someone who is maybe conventionally unattractive? Is that
well? It's not like you can hypnotize somebody so they're gonna find somebody that's 200 pounds overweight and think that they look like they're 5'2" and they're 125 pounds, obviously. But no, hypnosis is part of our lives. Have you ever been driving your car for a period of time and then something catches your attention, you stay fixed too long, and you go, holy shit, who's been driving this car? You're in a hypnosis state, right? You're in an altered state. And so what I really do is kind of dehypnotize people more than anything else. In other words, take the patterns that lock them down that they've learned over a period of time and get rid of those, break those patterns up. So yeah, you're not gonna make somebody, but when I say love is hypnosis anyway, I mean, if you fall in love with someone, they may not be your ideal, but if you truly fall in love, then suddenly they will be your ideal. Those rules will change for you over time. Maybe not when you're 25. How old are you now?
27.
27. Okay, we're 27. But by the time you're 35,
I'm 35. Yeah.
Yes. I heard. Congratulations. I heard you're getting married. Is that true?
I just got married.
Oh,
Yeah.
you just got married. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
But things change over time in that area.
Is there anything you think you're hypnotized of right now?
I'm sure there is. I'm probably not aware of it. If there is something, that's for sure.
That's fair. I'm curious. When people misunderstand you, what do you think they get most wrong?
I have no vested interest in figuring out what they misunderstand. If people can be offended if they want to be offended. People can be excited if they want to be excited. It's all a personal choice. I have no interest in that. What I'm here to do is to talk about things that matter to people who care. That's fundamentally what my life is about. And what I found over my life is I've been doing this. It'll be my, it's coming up here on my 49th year of service, and half a century basically of serving people. All the stories that go up and down disappear over time, because if you keep adding value and you've done it consistently, pretty soon, the way my feet move, my mouth moves, my wallet moves are all in the same direction. It becomes very obvious. I don't have to tell you who I am. If you do any homework, you'll see who I am.
Now, why is the belief that people don't change so common?
Well, because they don't usually change till they have to, most people, right? Most people are addicted to certainty. So there's 6 human needs you may be familiar from one of my books. One is certainty. And certainty is a survival instinct. We want certainty so we can be comfortable. If we're not comfortable, you know, we could be in pain. If we're in pain on a regular basis, we can do damage. Damage equals death. So the most fundamental need is to be certain. And most people settle for certainty. We have also a need for uncertainty, variety. We have a need for significance. In our culture today, it's a little overvalued to be the most important, significant one. And when it's out of balance, it'll really kind of mess up your life, but it'll give you drive. But most people really want love. And then we need the need for growth and contribution. So those 6 needs are the same for all human beings. The difference in how people perceive the world is 2 things. Which of those 6 needs are at the top of your list? If certainty is your number one thing, you're going to be moving in this direction, right? Avoiding. If, you know, something like, you know, variety is it, you're going forward. And by the way, direction determines destination or destiny. So I know, for example, if significance is the number one need you're after versus love, I know what problems you're going to have in your business, your relationship. If you know, if you value growth, I know you're going to have different experiences that you're going to bump into. So that's the common denominator. Then the second thing that's different about people is their rules. Like what has to happen for you to feel successful, right? What has to happen for you to feel loved? What has to happen for you to feel like, you know, depressed or frustrated? For some people, depressed, all they have to do is someone doesn't smile at them in the morning. Somebody else, the U.S. Army can storm through their kitchen and spit on their face and then they're not upset by it, right? People have different rules. Like I remember years ago, I had a gentleman who was, I won't mention his name, was a very well-known guy, came to one of my earliest seminars, and I was describing like these values that we have and these rules. And I was saying, you can have a value, but if your rules make it hard to experience, you won't feel that value. And so I use this guy because he's an obvious example, very wealthy, successful, famous man, and a good human being, like philanthropist and great father. And I said, "So are you successful?" I was doing it, you know, being playful. And he said, "No." And I said, at first I thought, is he feigning? You know, is he being humble? What is this, right? And then I looked at him, it's like, no, he really doesn't feel successful. I said, what has to happen for you to feel successful? He says, a lot of things. I said, well, that's obvious. What are they? And he goes, well, if you're really successful, you never get upset with your kids. And he's got 5, right? What are your chances? Oh, if you're really successful, you're always there for your kids. And I later got to know him well and his kids, and they thought he was the greatest dad in the world. But his rules wouldn't make him feel that way. What else has to happen? I don't remember the number. It's been so many years, but I think he said you have to have 9% body fat, and he was 10. You know, he was a marathon runner. You have to make $25 million a year. And I said, don't you really make that? He goes, no, I mean in salary, not bonuses and things like that. At that point, he lost rapport with everybody in the room, as you might guess, right? But then there's another guy in the room that this man does not feel successful, even though he values it, even though he pushes for it. He doesn't feel fulfilled. Then I have this other guy in the room I called on because there's certain people are obvious fly for the party guys, right? So I called this guy and I said, are you successful, sir? And he stands up and he goes, of course. Right? Everybody laughs. And I said, what has to happen for you to be successful? He said, I have to wake up, stand up, look down, and see I'm above ground. He said, every day above ground is a great day, right? And he legitimately feels successful every day of his life. So our lives are not controlled by the external world. It's the internal world that determines how you feel about things. It's just like I know I've seen you guys talk about wealth and you know, Z generation and millennial generation now. You don't think they still have the same opportunities and so forth. But that's a story that they're being told. The fundamental pathways are there. I wrote the book Money Master the Game because I wanted to answer that question. Can you still win this game? You know, is the game rigged against you? Well, the game's always been rigged, right? But can you win the game? The answer is absolutely, but not by being a speculator, unless you're lucky. Yeah. You know, putting all your money in Bitcoin, you might win. You might lose everything. That's not the way to wealth. That's the way if you're lucky to get a bunch of money, but you won't even keep that wealth if you have that mindset or approach. You're going to have to learn the strategies of either building a business and growing it, or investing over time and getting a compounded return that allows you to actually get to a point of real wealth.
If you could distill down to one trait, one personality, one character thing that allows someone to get over the hump and change their values, change their beliefs about something, change it to something for the better, what would you say that one thing is that the people that end up changing successfully have that those who don't end up changing lack?
Hunger and relentlessness. I mean, people ask me all the time, you know, I travel all over the earth. I've worked with some of the most successful athletes, entertainers, multi-billionaire, you know, entrepreneurs. And they say, you know, what is it these people have in common most of anything else? And most of them are smart. And I really believe in, you know, I love wickedly smart people personally. I love to learn from them. I love to learn myself. But what I found is there are a lot of wickedly smart people who can't fight the weight of a paper bag. It's the person whose hunger does not go away. The hunger to be more, do more, give more, share more, create more. And it's not hunger to get to just a goal. It's an insatiable hunger but they also have the relentlessness to push through all the obstacles that come up. It's like I always hear people say, well, the system's working against me. And some of the questions you guys sent, I saw them, you sent us some questions in advance, and I was like, every question has a presupposition in it that you had, at least the ones you sent to me. And it's like, oh, is this a systemic imbalance, right? F no. The system's always out of balance. You don't understand. You haven't lived long enough to see how it works, right? I remember when I was your age, no, not yours. Let's say a Z generation. You're Z, right? Let's 13 to
Gen Z.
yeah, 13
You would be
to
Gen Z by
27,
year.
yeah, and you'd be I assume millennial, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So when I was your generation, interest rates were 18%. I went and, and I'm hearing people bitching about 6%, right? It doesn't go very far with me, as you might guess, right? And I went and I studied. I had no money. I grew up with nothing. I had 4 different fathers. We didn't have food on Thanksgiving. The reason I provided 1 billion meals in 10 years, the last 10 years, I started with 2 and then 4 and then grew. Now I'm doing 62 billion meals I've done in 3 years for the world, doing a 100 billion meal challenge. The reason I got driven to do this is because I was hungry, right? Because I didn't have that kind of being taken care of. My fathers didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Are some people born with that hunger? Because sometimes you just see it lacking in somebody. What causes that lack?
I'll tell you the history of the world in 4 sentences. Good times create weak people. You can study 1,000 years of Roman history. You can study 500 years of Anglo-American history. I highly recommend, if you guys really want a perspective to help your generation, you should read The Fourth Turning or the book Generations. 2 great books, Strauss and Howe. I was working with the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. In those days, I worked with him because I'm an independent. And then I went across the street and I worked with the head of the House, Gingrich, who was a Republican. And both men had this book on their desks. The president had it, and so did Gingrich, right? And Gingrich is a historian. So I read the book, and it was one of the most valuable books of my life because it put everything, it showed me that there are seasons to everything. And so I was waking up in a winter season. I was coming of age, 18, 19 years old, in a winter season, 78, 18% interest rates. So I studied my ass off. I figured out, I made 100 offers on pieces of real estate. 99 said no. It was actually 103. 103rd one said yes. I bought this piece of real estate, try to make money at 18% on a piece of real estate. Good luck, right? But all I knew is real estate was the way that you could build wealth. I grew up from nothing, right? But what happened was then I had somebody, I hired, it was so far away, the place I bought, I hired a little local management company to manage the place. And they called me one day and said, well, a guy said that one of the stairs broke and he fell and he wants $100,000. Well, it's kind of inconvenient. I didn't have that. I could have just let that end me. But I was relentless. I was like, okay, I'm going to learn. This is painful. I'm going to learn. But the season will eventually change. So think of it this way. There's the greatest breakthrough in humanity came from the understanding of patterns. Pattern recognition gives you power. Pattern utilization gives you real power, and pattern creation makes you a master of something. What do I mean? When you don't recognize patterns, you live in fear. You live in like, oh my God, the system's changed. I can't do it. I can't succeed, because you don't understand that there's a pattern that's been around forever. It's just not in your lifetime that you've noticed it in your 15 years since college, right? Or 10 or whatever it's been for you, right? So as an example, when we figured out this thing called seasons, humanity went from hunter-gatherers who couldn't survive to we could stay in one place, but we made one distinction. There's only one season you could plant in. Springtime. If you worked your tail off in the winter and planted, you didn't get the reward. So you had to plant in the spring, then you had to go through the hard times of the summer, protect it, then you got reward in the spring, then you better hang on to some for the next winter. When we figured that out, humanity grew. That distinction of patterns is the most important thing for your life. You have a pattern of where you are right now in your lives, both of you. If you're 0 to, say, 21 years old, you're in springtime. Tell me, is things hard to grow in spring or easy?
Easy.
Very easy, right? If you start a business in springtime, you think you're a genius. You're full of shit. All it is you're in the right place at the right time. And when the season changes, that's what thins it out, right? 0 to 21 is the springtime because you primarily, like I had to go to work when I was 14, but I didn't have to make the mortgage, right? I had to help my family, but I didn't make the mortgage. So you're still being taken care of to some extent, whether you like it or not, some. You're being taught things. From 22 to 42 is like your summertime. That's where both of you are, right? And that's summertime, it's testing. And that the generation that's in that stage always thinks things are unjust and unfair, but always. You can look at over 100 years and you hear the same examples over and over again. And so during that time, you finally say, I don't know if I believe all the crap I was told. I'm going to go test my own world. I think they're full of crap. Plus, when you're 22, 25, 27, 28, you know you're going to be a billionaire, and you know you're going to be president of the United States, and you know you're going to have 100 relationships with everybody simultaneously, and everybody's going to be happy. By the time you're 35, you discover that isn't working so well. You have a hard time with one. You're not a billionaire yet, and it hasn't quite worked out the way you have, and so you get humbled, right? That 22 to 42 range is the toughest time. All studies about happiness, it's the toughest time because you're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out, prove to yourself, maybe to the world also, but to yourself who you are. And as you go through it, you're going to go through kind of the hero's journey. You're going to hit you you're not prepared for, and it's going to feel overwhelming, and you're going to think, oh my God, I don't know how to deal with this. But if you're relentless, you'll grow. You'll go on the little hero's journey. You'll meet new friends, new mentors. You'll fight good battles. You'll eventually win the war and come back and have something to share. And then it starts over again. But in that stage, that's when we start to consolidate relationships. Towards the end of that stage, you start to move into your power. Now, you guys might be ahead of schedule or behind schedule. I'm not telling you this is exact. It's a really good rule of thumb. Third season, 40, and say, look at 44 to 64. That is the power stage for almost everybody. It's where you earn the most money in your lifetime. That's when all the accumulation of things you've done, when people say it wasn't working, they didn't give it long enough to work. Now it's working. And they go, oh my God, this is the greatest time. Then you have relationships that are 20 and 30 years long. And you can do more with your pinky than it used to take, working 20 hours a day. You know everybody, you know what to do if you've taken care of your health, right? It's a phenomenal stage. And if you've grown, if you didn't plant in the springtime, you're going to weep in the fall. You're not going to reap in the fall. And then the stage 65 to 85, or 65 to 105, or 65 to 125, the oldest living humans, that's the winter again. And that's when you get to be a mentor to society. At that point, you don't give a fuck what people think. You care, but you're not here to try to convince anyone. You know who you are. You're not trying to prove to anybody else or yourself, but you do want to help. And so you know that the racetrack of life is limited. So I'm about to be 66. I look at this and go, I've lost friends that are much younger than I am already, and I've lost friends that are slightly older than I have. And you go, man, I work hard to take care of myself and everything else, but there's no guarantees in life. If I went by my life expectancy, I think I'm different than the average. You'd say, okay, Tony, well, you might have about 14 years left. I was that, 14 years.
I need to make some coffee. I'll be back.
I prefer to think about 92. I've got 5 kids and 5 grandkids. So I have a 52-year-old daughter that I adopted when I was very young, and I have, thanks to COVID, a 4.5-year-old daughter. So I want to be around for, her being older. But the point is, at this stage of my life, I mean, your life is about service. There's nothing else that you want. And if you've done a good job, your economics are beyond sound. But you have 40-year-old relationships, 50-year-old relationships. You have a level of fulfillment in your life. You have a sense of meaning. You have people you've touched. And you're in a position where it's like you don't take things for granted. Everything about your life is there. So those are your personal seasons. And here's the last one. I know it's a long-ass answer, and you can cut this up if you want. There's seasons of history. And this is the part your generation needs to understand. And that's why I hope you read the 2 books I mentioned.
Now, really quick, I guarantee every business is asking themselves this one question. How do we make AI work for us? The possibilities are limitless, but guessing is too risky, and sitting on the sidelines isn't an option, because if you do, I guarantee your competitors are going full force.
That's exactly where our sponsor NetSuite by Oracle comes in. It's the #1 AI cloud ERP trusted by over 43,000 businesses to manage everything from financials to inventory, commerce, HR, and CRM all in one unified system. And when all of your data lives in one place, your AI gets way smarter. It doesn't just guess, it knows. NetSuite intelligently automates routine tasks, delivers real-time insights, and helps you make fast, confident decisions that actually drive growth.
And this isn't some bolt-on tool. It's AI built directly into the systems that run your business, helping you cut costs, improve accuracy, and get way ahead of the competition.
So whether your company is earning millions or hundreds of millions, NetSuite gives you the visibility and control that you need to keep moving forward.
And right now, you can get our free business guide, Demystifying AI, at netsuite.com/iced. Again, the guide is totally free for you at netsuite.com/iced with the link down below in the description, netsuite.com/iced. Enjoy.
There's seasons of history. And this is the part your generation needs to understand. And that's why I hope you read the 2 books I mentioned. I'll give you an example. Over 1,000 years of Roman history, over 500 years of Anglo-American history, about every 20, 25 years, there's a shift in the primary mood that people are in. And it affects the way we interact with problems or challenges of different type. So I'll give you a simplistic example. If you guys were born in 1910, you don't know all your history, I'm sure, but we just won World War I. And I want you to think about it. You know the Roaring 20s, right? So what happened in the Roaring 20s? What do you know about it?
Partying, lots of money, everyone's happy.
Stock market's doing well.
And the explosion of new technology, the equivalent of AI. You had radio, television, telephones, you had airplanes, cars, mass. You had mass abundance that was going on, stock market, and that happens every fall. That's a fall time, right? But fall's not forever. So when you're 10 years old, you were protected. You were born in 1910, you were protected during that time. You didn't go to war. And you grow up and you see, this is what you think life is. Life is this incredible opportunity. This is
coffee is brewing.
Amazing. And you turn...
Pause this for a second. Coffee is brewing. I need to do some water. I've been streaming for basically 2 hours. That's a long-ass fucking time. Okay, so I'm basically. So currently we're at 2457. So at 2500, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to chill out for a few minutes. Then come back and get going. There's only this much left. I have this half a page, and then I'll be done with this chapter. So, or this page, basically. So I'll write 50 more words, take a few minutes off, chill out for about 15, come back and have a new cup of coffee and get going again, because we want to get at least to 10,000 today. Oh. Which is okay, because it seems like a lot more than it is, but if I hit 2,500 plus with this chapter, the next one will be longer and longer and longer. So here we go.
Years old, that transition from your springtime to your summer, and you think, and you turn 20 years old, that transition from your springtime to your summer, and you think, I'm going to go party, I'm going to get a car, I'm going to do these cool things, right? And by the way, those kids were totally looked down by their elders because they were called flappers. They said they didn't have any discipline. It's the same thing that millennials have heard from older generations and Zs have heard from some of the older generations, right? And the reason is it was true. They hadn't been through anything. It wasn't they were bad kids. They just they hadn't been tested. You don't build a muscle unless you lift some heavy ass weights, right? So what happens? You turn 1929 when you turn 19 years old, and people are jumping out of buildings. And in the Midwest, you got a dust bowl, and people are standing in line to have some bread, and it's like, holy shit. And those kids who were flappers and weak became the next heroes. They're known today as the greatest American generation. And the reason is because they not only made it through 10 years of depression, which isn't, by the way, all one dark time. Like stock market crashed and it rose 3 years later again, and then it crashed again. It wasn't like all darkness. Just like winter isn't always dark, you have beautiful days. But it was overall, the theme of emotion is fear. By the time you're 29, for that generation, think about your generation, what they were worried about. What happened when they were 29? If they're born in 1910, you must know your history. 1939?
It's World War II.
World War II. Suddenly Hitler is, Luftwaffe is blitzkrieging and taking countries in days. And he was alive at the time. I wasn't, you weren't. They knew the world was over. The stock market in America crashed. Everybody's freaked out. Hitler looked like he was completely dominate everything that was going on. And the whole world was shaking from what this experience was. And so people volunteered to go fight that war, right, to make this thing happen. Something very different for a generation later on, right? Because they were raised different. They had a different experience. Long story short, though, they fought the war 5, 6 years. They came back at the end of World War II. They won. And now they're the greatest generation. Why? They got muscle. They are in a position where they literally went through a depression and a world war, and they came back and they started the 50s. Now, were the 50s anything like the 40s? No. The early 60s? No. Then the next generation is raised, and that next generation, this is what you'll learn in generations, is it's not individually you individually, but as a culture, our parents overreact to how they were raised. So this generation that often had nothing wanted the kids to have everything. They sent them to college. They told them that you're going to have the greatest time of your life. You're going to be smarter than me. And their kids believed them. And they went off and had a great time with music and drugs and had a beautiful time and said, no, I'm not going to go to war. This is not fair. And so the 60s and 70s were very differently than the 40s or 50s. Just like the 80s, 90s, and 2000s are different. I'll give you one last example. For 50 years, they've asked at colleges this question, starting back in the 60s. What's most important to you for the quality of your life? A philosophy of life that you learn that allows you to have happiness, or the pragmatic skills for you to be financially strong and secure? What would your answer be?
Second.
What would yours be?
First.
First, interesting. 81% of the people who were asked that question in the 60s and 70s said a philosophy of life.
Huh.
It makes total sense. Think about the culture
Yeah.
then. From the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, 82% of the people, which is statistically irrelevant, said the direct opposite. Because they were raised, their parents were out having their little mission, and they were kids that had to let themselves in the house and watch television and make their own sandwich. And they were latchkey kids, not everyone, but as a group. And so they came up with their own music, their own rebellion, their own approach to things. And so this is how generations evolve. So when you think about the questions you kind of laid out for me about, like, I'm happy to answer them individually, but isn't it different this time? No, it's not. I gave you an example. I pulled this out to show you something interesting. It's like I heard people the other day, I pulled this out because someone was telling me, we were the worst, most divided in this country politically than we've ever been. We're going to be in a civil war. This is the worst it's ever been. I said, you don't know anything about history if you say that. It's the stupidest thing you could possibly say. So I brought this up for him, and this is 2 placards, because back then they didn't have social media, right? This is Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. So they put out placards when they're fighting against each other for president. Let me read what it says, and you see how it sounds compared to today's days. If you elect Thomas Jefferson, murder, robbery, and adultery will be practiced throughout the land. Are you prepared to see your dwellings in flames, female chastity violated, and your children writhing on the pike? This is what Adams put out about Jefferson, right? You know, co-founders of our country, right? John Adams, Jefferson put out, John Adams is busy importing mistresses from Europe, or trying to marry some of his sons to a daughter of King George, which to me, to them, would be like the devil. He's a hideous, hermaphroditical character with neither the force or firmness of a man nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. I mean, when you study history, you no longer have these fears that millennials and Zs have right now. Your generations will be the next heroes. If you study this, this doesn't stop.
All right, 2534. All right, so I'm currently at 25,300 and 2,534 words, edited and rewritten. So what I'm going to do now is take a break, and I'll be back in a little bit. We're at 2 hours. Jeez, that's a lot of streaming. Okay, I'll leave Tony Robbins on. I'll be back in 15-ish, maybe? 15-ish? We'll see. Enjoy Tony Robbins. I'll be back. I like these guys, the Iced Coffee Hour.
But we're going to have winter. There's going to be a time, there's going to be some conflict probably between
All right, let's take a break, get some coffee. Be right back.
Maybe it'll be purely cyber war. It already is a cyber war, but at a larger scale. There's going to be something that's going to disrupt your lives, our lives immensely. Your generations will be the generations that will rise to deal with that. That is historically what happens. Doesn't mean every individual will. And all the things that they're worried about will go out the door.
So if you were to sum up all of that information and provide some specific advice to someone out there, some real world application advice, someone that's a little bit younger, they're in that like up to 20 age, or they're in the next season feeling a little jaded, a little dejected, what is some real world application things that they can do to reverse the way that they feel about the world, to actually become someone that they are proud of being, someone that's productive and positive?
I'd say 2 things. What Jim Rohn taught me, my original teacher, when I asked him about why my fathers were broke, right? He said, if you want to have success in your life, stop asking what you can get and worrying about what you're going to get, and focus on what you're going to give. If you give more value than anybody else in the marketplace, you will dominate the marketplace. He asked me at one point, because I was saying, why do my dads, 4 of my fathers, they were suffering. They didn't have enough money for food. And he said, Tony, we're equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. So if you want to have a balance, economic balance for starters, you've got to actually invest in yourself to get the skills that will give you the advantage over someone else, instead of saying how the system's not supporting you, because that mindset or attitude is then self-fulfilling. Second, I'd say is you've got to become a student of history. We don't study history at all because, you know, it's not the same, but it rhymes, as you've heard, right? There are patterns that are so clear. Those 3 skill sets I told you are the most important skill sets I want my grandkids to have, anybody have. Pattern recognition of anything. If you can recognize patterns, you can learn quickly and you will not be in fear because it won't feel like it's random things happening to you. But you have to do your homework. You can't go online and just let somebody tell you who's pitching to you because they're afraid they're not doing well enough that the system's rigged against them. You got to look at the people that actually have succeeded and find out what's going on in their life, what they went through to get that pattern. And so that's what I did early on. I studied history. I studied everything I could on psychology because that's basically what shapes all human beings. And then I shaped myself around business. And those 3 skills for me were the most important skills.
Are some people unfixable?
Well, yeah, if you have no desire to improve your life, you're not going to improve your life, of course. Now, the truth is life will show up at some point and get you to make a demand. You'll have something that happens in your life. You'll have somebody in your family that gets ill. You'll have an economic thing will happen. You'll have a COVID and your business will be shut down. Life always is calling us to grow in some way. And so it doesn't matter who you are. If you don't do it proactively, it'll happen reactively. But what I'd also say to you really is, if you understand these 3 skills, pattern recognition, pattern utilization, that's where the power comes. You see somebody who's great in investing, they don't just recognize the patterns, they know how to use them, right? I'm not talking about betting the money on one thing and hoping. That's not investing, right? That's basically
Gambling.
betting. That's a betting process, right? If you really start to understand anything and you start to master the patterns, understand them, use them, and then eventually you'll create them, like playing someone's piano. You learn someone else's music first, right? Because they've already perfected it. That's what modeling is. But if you do it long enough and you're committed enough, all of a sudden you will come through. Now you're a pattern creator. If you look at somebody who's a GOAT in their industry, I don't care if it's sports or business or anything else, it's because they're a pattern creator. And so if you just model everybody else, you'll succeed. Right? Find the pattern that works and do it. But if you start doing that enough with enough different people, you're going to discover there's answers in you that don't exist anywhere. So you are a unique human being. You have something to bring to the table, but it takes time. It's usually quicker than people want. I think the biggest difference in today is people's expectations. Like people say, what about the wealth gap? There's always been a wealth gap. But the numbers now, it's like, there's a great book called How to Lie with Statistics. Bill Gates is a quote on the cover of it, and it makes me laugh. Because you can manipulate any statistic to get any outcome that you really want. But the wealth gap is bigger. There weren't people worth 100, 200, 300, 400 billion dollars a few years ago. So when you do that number against like median incomes, and the big difference today is social media. So kids say, I want to be wealthy. But you tell me, how many billionaires are there?
Like 2,000?
Yeah, maybe 3,000. But yeah, 2,000, I've seen estimates of that, but I know people that aren't on lists that fit that category. Some people don't want the knowledge of it, right? Let's call it 3,000 out of 8 million people. And how many of them are worth 100 billion, 200 billion, 300 billion, 400 billion? There's a half dozen. So they are unicorns of unicorns of unicorns, right? If that's what you want, you're going to have a lot of incredible skill set and a lot of luck. But that's not what most people really are willing to work for. They're not willing to put in the effort that it would take to do that. Most people are not as crazy, sleep on the floor 24 hours a day, take every risk you can imagine, like Elon. I mean, he's almost been bankrupt multiple times.
So what would you then say is a recipe for a happy life for the average person? A lot of people, they want to become a billionaire. They want to, have the perfect idealized family in the perfect location. They want to have a supercar, or they just want to be happy. What would you say is like an actual recipe for a fine life?
That's a great question. The most important thing is to find something you care about more than yourself. Because whatever you're calling perfect, once you have it, won't be perfect. Because do you earn more money now than you did 10 years ago?
Yes.
And is it enough?
Honestly, I'm pretty happy with however
Okay,
much
well,
I'm
good.
making.
I'm glad to hear it.
I would always like to make more. Like, we're moving the business in directions that would make us more money, and I want to grow the business. But I would say I'm pretty satisfied for
great.
sure.
The lower your expectations, the easier it is to achieve your goals,
His
whatever they may be.
expectations are pretty low.
No, I'm
It
just
sounds like you were
I'm just
doing it.
realistic about it. Like, I don't really care about having a supercar. I don't really care about I will say
He was
I
looking
didn't-
at a BMW i8.
It was
as you're driving.
$57,000 used. Okay, it's nearly a decade old. I will say though, I never wanted a mansion until I walked into this house. This is the nicest house. It's not even close that I've
really is.
ever walked.
I was blown.
And,
I was blown.
I've been very lucky to walk into some very nice places. This is it's ridiculous.
Well, thank you,
It's
thank you.
congratulations.
Well, thank you. But it's more than money, right? It's creativity. Like we're literally underwater right now. They told me it'd be impossible to do this. I wanted to build a squash court because I didn't want to drive 20 minutes each way. And the guy said, where are we going to put it? Because, we got 2.5 acres and I got 25,000 square feet here. And I said, down here. And he goes, it's below the water table. The ocean's on this side. The intercoastal's there. You can't do it. I said, well, have you ever been to Atlantis? Have you ever been to Scripps Oceanography? I said, let's build a submarine. And they told me to do it in 18 months. It took about 3 years, but nobody knows it's down here, right? So, my grandkids, kids, everybody comes here. We have a blast. We use this constantly. But thank you for that. But to me, it's never about the thing. So to answer your question directly, if you can find something you care about more than yourself, it'll give you energy. Like there's not a reason to get up in the morning if it doesn't take that much to meet your own needs. Some people's expectations are higher than others, so it takes more for some people. And most people, as they go through life, either adjust their expectations down or up, but they usually make adjustments. But I think what you really want to be able to do is find something you care about most that gives you joy for you to get up and do, where you feel like your life has meaning. Because happiness goes up and down. Happiness is, it's an energy, but meaning, a meaningful life where you feel like, man, I'm so glad that I have the privilege to be alive. I'm so glad I get to serve this way. That is what ultimately gives people joy. So you can get that meaning by being a doctor, a nurse, whether you have a hypercar or not. Everyone has different goals. And I don't tell people what they should believe, but I tell them this: whatever you want, be clear that you're gonna have to find something to serve more than yourself, that excites you, that drives you. 2, get incredibly good at mastering whatever that is. If you're going to get good at it, you're not going to get it because you're lucky. And it's like Steph Curry, I'm on a port of the piece of the Golden State Warriors. Steph practices 500 shots a day. When he makes a shot from half court, you see him and he's chewing on the side like Bugs Bunny, and he doesn't even look back. He just turns, and lets it swish. He's a genius. Steph Curry in high school never should be in the NBA. He was too short. His dad made him correct his shot because he never would have made it. He had to learn to reshoot while he was in high school and college, which made him terrible. But the level of work put in, so he put in 500 shots a day, every single day, 7 days a week, for his entire life, basically. But let's just take his 15-year professional career. That's 3,500 shots a week, 168,000 shots a year, 2.5 million shots in 15 years, so he can make 3,300 threes and be the best in history. You get rewarded in public for what you practice in private intensely. So if you want something great in your life, find out what you want. I look at it though across areas. I go, what do I want physically? What do I want emotionally? What do I want with my relationships? What do I want with my finances? And then I put focus in that. And I've written books in each of those areas. So for example, in the finance components, like, okay, how does somebody do it? Same way you always did. You're going to make money one of 2 ways. You're going to start your own business and grow it and sell it for a multiple or more than one business, or you're going to work for somebody else and you're going to get really good at investing. Again, not betting, investing, and you're going to compound over time.
Now, a New Year reset isn't just about setting goals. It's about resetting your space. A calm, comfortable home makes everything feel more manageable, and getting good sleep is a huge part of that. That's why we're really excited to be sponsored by Cozy Earth.
Cozy Earth is known for bedding that's designed to elevate both your sleep and your space. Their Baja bedding set is a complete matching collection with sheets, a duvet cover, a quilt, and a coverlet all designed together. Of course, inspired by the Baja California landscape, it has a clean resort-style look with premium fabric
All
and
right.
reversible design that makes your
Back.
bed feel instantly more put together.
Without exaggeration, I've been sleeping on these sheets for the last few months, and
We back. 2 hours, 13 minutes. We back, son. All right, Tony Robbins. That was entertaining, and I am over it. What do we got going on here? Boring. Seen it. Boring. Oh, you should all like slavery. Boring. Fucking boring. I find him amusing. I find that anybody who argues with people online is probably retarded. Yet I find the crash outs hilarious, and it's like watching Jerry Springer. It's like Jerry Springer. I think it's pretty funny. This guy is every fucking where. This guy, he's got like 10 channels. He's got to be rich. He's got to be making tons of money. He's got like 15 different YouTube channels. He's going to fucking jail. Ugh, crazy shit going on in the world right now. Let's see if there's anything good. Blah, blah. Let's see what's in my subscriptions. Let's see. Boring. Boring. I find News Nation to be the most balanced. If anybody's interesting, this guy's gay as fuck. Terrible, terrible. This guy's terrible. This Destiny guy. Ugh. She's pretty good, but like, she's super pro-Israel. I don't know. She's cool, but she's good. Like, she's super old school Democrat. This guy is interesting. He lives over in Asia, and he's always talking about economics. I find his takes pretty good, but he's kind of behind the curve now too. By the time he posts, I already figured out the information by reading it on X. Seriously, X is like, you just really want to know what's going on. Everything going on is X. Wild stuff. Oh man. Wild stuff. So you can get down this K-hole with the world so quick. I can see why people like, what the? No way. If this guy, yeah, this guy's great too. Mike Benz, he's on the, like, if you want to know stuff, go on X, follow a few people. Mike Benz, Mario Nawfal, if you want international news, he's really on. He's also with like crypto and stuff. Who else? Who else is really good? Who else is really good? Wall Street Apes is really good. Follow Wall Street Apes, they're really good. I find Conspiracy Bot super entertaining. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, here's one of those. Fuck. I find these AI takes pretty hilarious. So stupid. You can do this with Grok and shit. So stupid. See, it's like Jerry Springer. The fact that you could do this with like AI now and like have it done in like less than 10-20 minutes is crazy. It's so stupid. What the fuck? I think I've seen this before. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. Oh my god. It's crazy. I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. Yeah. Oh, this is the finished version. Okay.
So put them in the box. Let the walls be cold and white. Throw the keys away.
So he said 30 hours of work. That's pretty good. Stupid. That's funny. You know what I might do would be interesting? We'll do this. What if we take... Jesus.
They say I'm a net negative of cancer on the earth. But their own pathetic lives haven't seen a moment's worth. They're begging on their cash apps, crying on the floor. While I'm the one they hate, and I'm the one they adore. Success is measured in decades, like the prophecy of doom. If you strike me down today, you'll be singing a different tune. A million more will rise, a million more will fight. You can't kill an idea with your petty childish mind. I don't fear the reaper, I don't fear the grave. Before I was born, I was nothing.
It's so stupid. It's hilarious. Okay.
A cynical king in a roach-infested hole. So put them in the box, let the walls be cold and white. Throw the keys away and end this mental blight. Institutionalize the rock, let the asylums rise again. I'm the harbinger of logic, the surgeon of their pain. The world will be a paradise, a clean and silent land, when every screaming retard is dealt a heavy hand. Put them in the box. Put them in the box. Go ahead and report me. I'm an irrelevant retard. Right? That's what you said. But you're still watching. You're always watching.
It's pretty much the entire. It's pretty much every meme, right? In a video form. That's pretty intense. You know what I kind of can't stand about the entire take on economics is, like, most people don't realize the Fed, these things, these central. Never mind. I don't want to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it. That's people just don't know shit. People just don't know shit, and they trust. Ugh, people are crazy. Oh God, this is terrible. Why would somebody have glasses in the future? Like, ugh, stupid. All right, I gotta see what happens with X. Just sucks you in. Sucks you in. Oh, yeah. If you want to do yoga and get in shape, this guy, Breath and Flow, these are the dudes. They just had a kid like a year ago or something, and this dude's like the guy I like do is him. He's the yoga guy. Like, if you want to do an intense yoga, he's pretty intense. But anyway, too fat, skipping breakfast. Should I put music on? That's bullshit. I get flexible one time. Bullshit. A lot of this shit's just bullshit. We're living behind a veneer, and it's destroying us. Digital Social Hour podcast by Sean Kelly. I don't find that very interesting. I don't want to watch that. Let's see. 25. I got to finish this chapter, and then I'll stop streaming for the day because I'm at 2.5 hours. I think that's plenty. And I'll keep working throughout the... Well, I guess I could just keep it on. We'll see what's going on. Oh, this guy's good. I like him.
In Iran last year.
I think I played it for a second, but I didn't listen.
Hey friends,
he's good.
Let me tell
It's
you
Ken Cow
a
guy.
military secret. Buying radar systems from Temu is never a good idea. Apparently, Chinese defense systems only work on social media. But after failing in Iran last year, they failed again this year in Venezuela. Maybe there's a pattern here. Now, you may or may not like what Donald Trump did. You may hate his politics. You may hate his style. You may hate his tweets. But there's one thing you cannot deny. The military operation in Venezuela was an undeniable, resounding success. US forces went in. They completely disabled Venezuela's defenses. They captured Maduro and his wife, and they left. No prolonged fighting, no urban chaos, no American casualties, no aircraft losses. That alone tells you something important about the state of US military power in 2026. But here's the question very few people want to ask. What happened on the other side? What weapons did Venezuela use? And why did they fail so completely? Because the uncomfortable answer is this. Many of these weapons were from China. And to understand why this matters, we need to go back to 2006. That was the year the United States imposed an arms embargo on Venezuela. Caracas was cut off from Western weapons systems. So where did it turn? Russia and China. Between 2010 and 2020, Russia supplied roughly 50% of Venezuela's arms imports. China supplied about 20%. And that made China Venezuela's second largest weapons supplier, and Venezuela, China's biggest military customer in Latin America. So this wasn't symbolic. It was real money, real hardware, real strategic bets. And three Chinese systems matter most here, and they all failed spectacularly. First, the JY-27A radar. China claims this long-range radar can detect US stealth aircraft. In September last year, Venezuela installed 7 of them. The defense minister went on TV praising the Chinese system. He claimed it had successfully locked American F-35s, the most advanced fighter jets on the planet. Now, fast forward to Saturday, multiple military analysts believe US aircraft simply suppressed those radars, totally suppressed them. Electronic warfare, jamming, blindness, one system down. And second is another Chinese stealth radar, the JYL-1. Same purpose, same marketing, same outcome, no meaningful response. And third, we have the Chinese surface-to-air missiles. Venezuela operated China's HQ-9 and HQ-12 systems, supposedly capable of intercepting enemy aircraft and missiles. Well, they didn't. And this isn't the first time we have seen this. Pakistan also deployed
Pakistan.
similar Chinese systems.
Sorry, buddy, I gotta
against
make fun of your
India,
accent. It's hilarious.
but India missiles flew through them anyway. Now, let me be very clear. We do not yet have conclusive evidence about every single detail, right? We do not know if the systems failed technically. We do not know if they were jammed. We don't know if operators were poorly trained, right? We don't know if commanders just froze.
Oh, I got one of these. It's a weight. It's 5 pound weight, but it's really good for your wrists.
Nearly 150 US aircraft participated in this operation. And based on the videos we saw, which is the only evidence we have, some of those aircrafts flew extremely low. I mean, some operated deep inside Venezuela's airspace. And Venezuela offered no resistance. None. So United States had a complete air dominance, which means one thing is undeniable. Chinese weapons utterly failed to stop them. And that silence you're hearing right now, that is the Chinese state media. Because when Chinese weapons perform well, Beijing never shuts up. But when they fail, well, the microphones disappear. Now, zoom out. This wasn't just a tactical operation. This was really strategic. In November 2025, the US National Security Strategy made something explicit. The Monroe Doctrine is back. Washington declared the Western Hemisphere a core strategic sphere, so non-hemispheric competitors were put on notice. Well, China was never explicitly named, but everyone knew who it meant. Maduro's regime was deeply aligned with China. China had oil interests, debt exposure, military credibility at stake. And then in one night, Maduro was gone. Of course, China would condemn. China condemned the operation loudly, as I predicted. Sovereignty, international law, UN Charter, the usual script. But behind these rhetoric, I think China had two real fears. First, its weapons just failed in a real-world test against its main strategic peer competitor. And second, every country watching just learned something crucial, that Chinese export weapons, the versions sold to partners and proxies, may not survive contact with reality. Inside China, military commentators are suddenly quiet. No victory claims, no performance charts, no patriotic slogans. And instead, you know what they're talking about? US intelligence, US electronic warfare. Anything except the Chinese hardware. And that silence speaks volumes. And here's the quiet humiliation China just cannot erase. China's air defenses in Venezuela against the US military, they are completely neutralized. US electronic warfare didn't just win, it erased the battlefield. This wasn't just a military operation. It was really a demonstration to the whole world. A demonstration in real time, not in fake videos, of American military superiority over China. Not in theory, not in brochures, not in propaganda videos, but under real pressure. America win against China. And every country watching learned a brutal lesson. Chinese weapons look impressive on paper. They look great and intimidating in military parades. They look deadly in those, state media animations. But when reality shows up, when American military show up, they collapse. That's not my opinion. That's what just happened, recorded in live videos. That's it for today. Thanks for watching now, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hi, I'm Dongxiang. Welcome to Digging into China, where we take a deep dive into what's really happening in China and share some unique insights. If you say that China's technology has made no progress at all.
Okay, only one episode of Chinese. It's me. So stupid. Oh my God. He really runs the world. Welcome to the female economy. I like this guy, but I don't feel like this one. U.S. implodes. SEM destroys U.S. finance in historic attack on Fed's Powell. Meh. Bang. One, two, four, a few more paragraphs, and I'm done with this one, and then I will be on chapter 2, which I need to do at least 3 chapters today to get to 10,000-ish. So I'll stop after this. I'll just stop now. I'm at 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's enough streaming for today, and I'll just get back to work off stream. Tomorrow I'll try to stream earlier because podcast, Storyforge. But I would like to listen to music while I work now and pace around the house. So I'm going to do that. Anyway, let's see. Here we go. 2702 is what I'm at. So that's 1,000 words since I started rewrites and edits for this chapter today when we got in this podcast. I'll be at 3,000-ish, right around 3,000 at the end of these last 1, 2, 3. So this will turn into 200-ish more words, and that'll be 2,900, and then we'll be on chapter 2. I don't want that. Chapter 2. Okay, and then yeah, I'll turn this as the last little bit, and then I will be back tomorrow, probably quite further along, hopefully at least at 10,000 words. It's 11 o'clock. Yo. All right, anyway, have a great day, everybody. I am out of here. Enjoy whatever stuff you are going to watch. Ending Rumble stream. Peace out. Yes. Ending Instagram. Peace out. Boom. Boom. Ending StreamYard. All right, everybody. Looks like this stream was ended. Everybody have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.